Swamps and rivers are eerie places to explore, teeming with creatures most of us would rather avoid. But beyond the creatures, these waters conceal deep secrets. Skeptical? These discoveries might just change your mind. From a rumored monster lurking in a river to the enigmatic Shergar idol, here are 20 terrifying finds in rivers and swamps. Number 20. Hington Brain. The Hington Brain offers an intriguing peek into the complexities of archaeological preservation and the unpredictable nature of discoveries. Believe it or not, this is a 2,600-year-old human brain. The discovery of this brain can be traced back to 2008, near the village of Hington in North Yorkshire, England. An excavation was underway, and the team was expecting to find the usual array of historical artifacts. However, inside a decapitated skull, they stumbled upon something they hadn't quite anticipated: a brain. The skull was located in a pit, and the reason for the decapitation remains speculative. Given its age, one would expect the brain to have decomposed long ago, but this one was different. Over time, the brain's proteins had folded and bonded tightly, almost like when you cook an egg and the proteins change form. This unique preservation process kept bacteria out, allowing the brain to survive millennia. The Hington Brain provides valuable insights into ancient burial practices and the environment of the time. For instance, the soil composition, temperature, and surrounding materials all played a role in preserving the brain. Moreover, researchers can study it to understand more about the diet, health, and even potential diseases or conditions of ancient populations. As valuable as it was undeniably an eerie discovery. Number 19. Prehistoric blood-sucking Lampri. Take a look at this creature. Just one glance is probably enough for most people to have a nightmare about it. Now, would you believe that this creature was discovered in the River Thames? But what exactly is this horrific creature? This is a sea lamprey. You're probably thinking, sea lamprey? So what exactly was it doing in freshwater? Well, despite its name, these creatures have been observed to venture into freshwater, but only if it's pristine. For this reason, biologists declared these creatures biologically extinct around the 1960s because of how polluted the Thames was. Now, more about this creature. There's actually a reason for its bizarre appearance. After all, these guys have roamed Earth's waters for over 340 million years, predating even the dinosaurs. At first glance, a lamprey might be mistaken for an eel due to its elongated body. However, a closer look reveals a feature that many find disturbing: a circular, sucker-like mouth bristling with rows of sharp, hooked teeth. This mouth is designed for one purpose: to latch onto other fish. Lampreys are parasitic. They attach themselves to the sides of fish, using their teeth to grip and their rasping tongue to drill into their host, feasting on the fish's blood and bodily fluids. Sounds horrifying, doesn't it? So, imagine what a 13-year-old child felt when they suddenly pulled this creature from the Thames when it was supposedly extinct. I would have probably stayed away from freshwater for the rest of my life. Number 18. A mysterious mummy. Here's another mummy discovered in a bog in Europe. This is the Windaby Girl, found in 1952 in the northern region of Germany. This bog body, dated back to the Iron Age, around 41 BCE to 118 CE, is one of several discovered across northern Europe. Peat bogs, with their cold, acidic, and oxygen-free conditions, are known to naturally mummify bodies, preserving them for millennia. The Windaby Girl was found with a woolen band wrapped around her head, covering her eyes. This detail, combined with the fact that she was found in a bog, led to initial speculations that she might have been the victim of a ritual sacrifice, perhaps as a punishment, just as other bog bodies were. Later examinations, however, revealed that the woolen band might have simply slipped over her eyes due to the bog's shifting conditions over the centuries. Further analysis has cast doubt on whether the body was even female, with some experts now suggesting that it may have been a young boy. Additionally, traces of grain were found in her stomach, suggesting she had eaten shortly before her death, raising questions about the exact circumstances surrounding her final moments. Regardless of how she passed, it's horrible to think she passed at such a young age. Number 17. Famous house in the middle of the Loire River. How would you feel if you found a house in the middle of a river? What would you think about it? Well, I would think that it had been washed away or something. The truth, however, isn't that far off. In the middle of the Loire River is a massive house seemingly floating downriver. This structure is simply known as the House in the Loire. It's a 3-story building that has been permanently submerged in the river. This house wasn't simply washed away, but rather a deliberate creation and brainchild of French artist Jean-Luc Courcalt for the 2007 Estuaire Art Exhibition. This seemingly abandoned house is a one-on-one replica of an actual inn in Lavaux-sur-Loire, which now serves as a creperie. The fact that this house is bolted down to the rocky bottom of the Loire River isn't the only reason why this house is infamous. Some folks say they've heard strange noises or seen odd shadows when passing by. Others swear they've seen lights flickering, even when no one is supposed to be there, much less considering the house doesn't have any electricity. Whether it's just local tales to spook tourists or there's some truth to it, who knows? Number 16. The Monster of River Thames. Stretching through London, the River Thames has been the lifeblood of the city for centuries. However, in this river allegedly lived a monster, like the creature living in Loch Ness, affectionately named Nessie. Now, if you've been living around this area or if you like reading about cryptids in your free time, then perhaps you've already heard of the monster living in the River Thames. In recent years, several videos and photos of this creature have surfaced, showing a mysterious moving object or disturbance in the river. While none offer clear evidence of a monster, many theories have emerged. Some experts believe that if there's any truth to the sightings, it's likely not a prehistoric monster but something more mundane. The River Thames is home to various marine life, including seals and large fish, which can easily be mistaken for something more mysterious, especially when viewed from a distance or in poor light. While the existence of this creature remains a topic of debate, many people believe and support the existence of this monstrous creature. Now it's time for today's topic. In the remote village of Aokigahara, nestled at the base of Japan's famous Mount Fuji, locals have long spoken of a mysterious creature that lurks within the nearby river. For generations, the elders have passed down stories of a river monster known as Mizu Oni, a humanoid figure said to guard the waters and keep outsiders away. Most residents dismiss the legend as nothing more than folklore, but recent events have breathed new life into the chilling tale. One quiet morning, as a local fisherman went about his usual routine of casting nets into the river, he noticed something strange. The water, calm just moments before, began to ripple violently. Thinking it was an unusually large catch, he moved closer only to freeze in terror. Emerging from the depths was a figure unlike anything he had ever seen, dark, scaly, and eerily human-like. Its glowing eyes locked onto the fisherman, who stood motionless in fear as the creature silently slipped back into the water. When the fisherman returned to the village, he spoke of his encounter, reigniting fears of the Mizu Oni. Many now wonder if the ancient guardian of the river has returned, and whispers of the legend are spreading once again. Could this be a real-life sighting of the monster that has haunted Aokigahara for centuries? Number 15. Medieval Hunger Stones. When you visit rivers in Europe, you might find quite an eerie sight: hunger stones. These large rocks or boulders are often inscribed with dates and messages from long ago. They typically sit submerged under the water, hidden from view, but during periods of drought or extremely low water levels, they emerge, revealing their often somber messages to the world. Many of these inscriptions date back centuries and offer a stark reminder of the hardships faced during those times. A common inscription on these stones reads something like, "If you see me, weep." It's a direct, haunting message from the past, signaling times when crops failed and communities starved. These stones essentially served as historical records, marking years of severe drought. While they've been reported in several European rivers, the most well-known hunger stones are found in the Elbe River, which flows through the Czech Republic and Germany. Over the years, as water levels have occasionally dropped, these markers from the past have made their rather creepy appearance. Number 14. 18th Century Cannon. Over the years, there have been multiple efforts to explore and clean up the Detroit River. During one of these operations, divers were surprised to uncover an 18th century British cannon. This was not an isolated find. Several cannons have been retrieved from the river over the years. These cannons go to show that the river was once a vital waterway for both military and trade purposes, and Fort Detroit was a key strategic point. In addition to cannons, other artifacts such as musket balls and pieces of shipwrecks have been discovered, further highlighting the historical significance of the area. Historians believe these cannons were likely discarded into the river during military skirmishes or when ships were dismantled after battle. After their recovery, efforts have been made to conserve and restore the cannons. Such artifacts undergo processes to remove corrosion and stabilize them for display. Some of these cannons are now exhibited in local museums, offering a glimpse into Detroit's rich history. They are significant remnants of the past, though they also serve as reminders of the tumultuous times in history. Number 13. The Ghost Fleet of Mallows Bay. Mallows Bay, located along the Potomac River in Maryland, might appear at first glance to be a peaceful body of freshwater. Still, it's actually a watery grave of several ships. The bay is home to what's known as the Ghost Fleet of Mallows Bay. Beneath its waters are over 100 wooden steamships that were deliberately sunk in the dark waters. These aren't ancient shipwrecks from some long-forgotten battle, but instead remnants of a failed fleet from World War I. During the First World War, as part of an effort to support the Allies and aid in the war, the U.S. embarked on an ambitious project to build a massive fleet of wooden steamships. The idea was to quickly produce these vessels to transport troops and goods across the Atlantic. However, by the time many of the ships were completed, the war had ended. With steel becoming more popular and these wooden ships being seen as obsolete, many never saw active duty. Instead, they ended up in Mallows Bay, intentionally scuttled and sadly left to decay. Today, these eerie shipwrecks have become entangled with the local ecosystem, becoming a safe haven for fish and other creatures in the river. The ghost fleet of Mallows Bay has become a popular destination for kayakers, historians, and nature enthusiasts. Number 12. Spanish Stonehenge. When people hear the word Stonehenge, the monument in England often comes to mind. However, it isn't the only captivating structure in Europe. One of these ancient structures is hidden beneath the reservoir of Valdecañas. This is the Dolmen of Guadalperal, also known as the Spanish Stonehenge. It's a megalithic monument believed to be over 7,000 years old. This prehistoric assembly consists of around 100 standing stones, some reaching up to 6.5 feet in height. For much of the 20th and 21st centuries, this ancient wonder was submerged underwater due to the construction of the Valdecañas Reservoir in the 1960s. However, in recent years, particularly during periods of drought, the waters have receded enough to reveal this megalithic structure. Archaeologists believe the dolmen was originally used as a temple or burial chamber, making it a significant cultural and historical site for ancient civilizations. The exposed stones have become a popular attraction, drawing tourists and history buffs alike, eager to witness this long-hidden marvel. Efforts are underway to protect the structure from further erosion now that it's once again exposed to the elements. Despite the water damage, the Dolmen of Guadalperal continues to fascinate with its ancient mystery and significance. Number 11. 12,000 square foot castle in the Florida swamp. Venturing into the swampy areas of Florida, the last thing you would anticipate stumbling upon is a complete castle. But that's precisely what you'll see in this Florida swamp. This castle is the home of Howard Solomon, who spent almost 12 years building this 3-story castle by hand, right in the middle of this swampy area. He began working on this curious structure in the 1970s when his family moved to the area from New York, not expecting the place to be a swamp. He created the castle as a last resort to have a decent home, despite the state of the land he bought. Solomon included a bell tower, a moat, and a drawbridge in this 16th century castle masterpiece. The materials he used were often recycled or repurposed, with many parts of the structure being made from discarded items like old printing plates and car parts. Over time, the quirky charm of the castle attracted attention, and it eventually became a local tourist attraction, drawing visitors from far and wide. Today, the castle is more than just a home. It's a testament to Solomon's creativity, perseverance, and determination to turn an unusual situation into something extraordinary. Naturally, he received a lot of odd looks for building the castle, but the locals quickly realized that the structure was nothing but a fun way for Solomon and his family to live. Number 10. Girl of the Uchter Moor. The Moor woman, much like other bog bodies found across northern Europe, offers a haunting yet fascinating glimpse into the past. These remains, preserved for millennia in the unique conditions of peat bogs, enabled experts today to reconstruct and reimagine her face, and I don't know about you, but it's rather creepy. The Moor woman, also known as the Girl of the Uchter Moor, was discovered in 2000 in the Uchter Moor near Ucht, Lower Saxony, Germany. The discovery was not a complete body but rather skeletal remains spread over an area of almost 40 square meters due to peat extraction machinery. Through radiocarbon dating, it was determined that the Moor woman lived during the Iron Age, around 650 BCE, making her remains over 2,600 years old. This was a time of significant cultural and technological advancements in Europe. Detailed examinations of the Moor woman's remains have provided clues about her life. She was estimated to be between 17 and 19 years old at the time of her death. Isotopic analysis of her bones suggested a largely vegetarian diet, common for people of her time in that region. Traces of birch bark tar on her teeth, a substance that can have antiseptic properties, indicate some form of dental care or treatment. The cause of her death remains a mystery. While no apparent signs of violence were evident on her remains, the fact that she was found in a bog raises questions. Many European bog bodies show evidence of having met violent ends, leading to speculations about ritual sacrifices or punishments. However, without concrete evidence, it's hard to draw definitive conclusions about the Moor woman's fate. Number 9. Swamp creatures. Imagine walking in the wilderness when you suddenly see a monstrous creature. you do a double take and realize that it's actually a sculpture made of algae and moss. This is Sophie Prestigiacomo's brainchild, Homo algus. But what exactly do these sculptures mean? Well, these extraordinary works of art allegedly depict a future where humans evolve into amphibious beings. It's a statement about humanity and the environment. What's brilliant is that because these sculptures are made with algae and moss, these seemingly breathing and live showpieces change along with the environment. Over time, as seasons shift and weather patterns fluctuate, the sculptures transform naturally, giving the impression that they are alive and adapting to their surroundings. This organic evolution makes each visit to the site a unique experience, as no two encounters with the sculptures are ever the same. The contrast between their monstrous appearance and the delicate materials they are made of further emphasizes the message of humanity's fragile relationship with nature. While these works of art are undoubtedly impressive, I can't deny that they can be pretty surprising when you encounter them unexpectedly in nature. Many even claim that these sculptures, while thought-provoking, give off an eerie vibe. I'm curious if there are any art enthusiasts out there. Let me hear your interpretations of this piece in the comments down below. Number 8. 15,000 bicycles. Amsterdam, the capital city of the Netherlands, is renowned for its picturesque canals. Who knows, some of you might have already traveled to this romantic city just to see these canals in person. But did you know that its waters are filled with rubbish? Well, if you've already been in Amsterdam, then this might not be news to you. Amsterdam is undeniably a city of cyclists, with more bicycles than residents. Cycling is deeply ingrained in Dutch culture, and bicycles are so popular that they have become one of the primary modes of transportation for locals. However, it's still surprising that over 15,000 bicycles have been fetched out of its canals throughout the years. The reasons for this high number vary. Some bicycles are the result of pranks, others fall victim to thefts gone wrong, and some are simply discarded when they're no longer needed. In addition to bikes, the canals are also known to collect an assortment of other debris, from shopping carts to umbrellas. Local authorities employ specialized boats to routinely dredge the canals, keeping the waterways navigable and minimizing the environmental impact. Despite these efforts, it's clear that the canals serve as more than just a scenic backdrop. They've also become an unofficial dumping ground. Hopefully, this fad will stop before the canals and the rivers get badly affected. Number 7. Detmold Child. Now, it's hard not to be terrified of this mummy at first glance. After all, when you think about mummies, it's natural to picture the great mummified pharaohs of Egypt. The mummy of the Detmold Child is on the horrifying end of the spectrum. Found in Peru, it's the mummy of an infant estimated to be around 6,500 years old. That means it dates back to a time long before major civilizations like the Inca Empire took shape in the region. What makes the Detmold Child particularly special is its age and the condition it was found in. Being so old, it offers a snapshot of ancient burial practices. The child was wrapped in a woven burial shroud, and the preservation techniques used back then were evidently effective, given the mummy's relatively good condition when discovered. Researchers believe the child might have been about 10 months old at the time of death. While the exact cause of death isn't clear, the mummy offers clues about health, diet, and life in ancient Peru. For instance, examining the bones, teeth, and any residual tissues can provide insights into the child's health, what it might have eaten, and the potential diseases or conditions prevalent at the time. Were there rituals associated with death and the afterlife? How did they view childhood and mortality? What were their relationships with the surrounding environment, given the materials used for preservation? There's still a lot to unravel about this eerie mummy. Number 6. World's largest earthworms. If you're scared of creepy crawlies, then brace yourself. These large earthworms are just one of the many frightening creatures that lurk in Australia, particularly in its rivers. These are the Gippsland earthworms, native to the Gippsland region of southeastern Australia, and they're known as the largest earthworms in the world. While a typical garden earthworm might measure a few inches long, the Gippsland earthworm can reach lengths of up to 3 meters, nearly 10 feet long. These giant earthworms prefer the deep, moist soils of Gippsland and create burrows that can go more than 6 feet beneath the soil. When it rains heavily, you can sometimes hear a slurping sound as they move through their underground tunnels, making them even more unsettling. Though they rarely surface, when they do, their enormous size can shock anyone who encounters them. Due to their slow growth and low reproductive rates, the species has become particularly vulnerable to human activity. However, due to habitat loss from agriculture and urban development, the Gippsland earthworm is now considered a vulnerable species. I'm sure some of you would be thrilled by that fact. Number 5. Ball and chain in the Thames. In the Thames in 2009, experts were stumped by the discovery of a perfectly preserved ball and chain. It was discovered in the mud with its lock still fastened, and it was believed to date back to the 17th or 18th century. Now, where exactly was the prisoner bound by this contraption? Well, Some speculate that a prisoner may have met a watery end while trying to flee. While that might be terrifying to think of, experts support this theory because the ball and chain were made of high-quality iron and were too valuable to simply discard. The condition of the artifact, with minimal corrosion despite being submerged for centuries, suggests that it was swiftly lost or abandoned under unusual circumstances. Additionally, the craftsmanship of the ironwork implies it was designed for long-term use, further pointing to its role in restraining a person of some significance. Interestingly, similar finds have been rare, which adds an air of mystery to its origin. Moreover, the padlock's design indicates it wasn't a restraint for enslaved individuals. And so, this ball and chain, weighing 17.64 pounds, is most likely not only a valuable artifact but also a contraption that is muddled and associated with someone's painful end. Number 4. Meditating Man. In 2022, residents of Bangkok, Thailand, experienced a startling moment when they stumbled upon what seemed to be a lifeless body drifting in a murky canal. Just imagine walking along the river and seeing a man floating by. I'd definitely have a mini heart attack and think I just discovered a lifeless body. Naturally, locals flocked to the floating man, prepared to pull him up, thinking he was lifeless. However, it turned out there was nothing to be frightened of. To their surprise, the floating man wasn't actually lifeless, but rather just an ordinary old man trying to meditate. I can't really fault the locals for thinking the man was dead, but I also can't blame the man for doing what he did. After all, meditating in rivers and other bodies of water is normal for many cultures and religions. For many, bodies of water symbolize purification, renewal, and a deeper connection to nature. Immersing oneself or meditating near these bodies of water can be seen as a way to cleanse the mind and soul, achieve profound spiritual insights, or simply connect with nature on a deeper level. In some traditions, it's believed that meditating by or in water can help channel its calming energy, promoting inner peace and clarity. But perhaps, if you ever plan on doing this, try not to keep your eyes closed for too long or let yourself be carried away by the current far enough for locals to believe you're lifeless. Number 3. The Gunch in the river. If you're from India or Nepal, then you might already be familiar with this story, the Kali River Gunch. Imagine wading in the river when suddenly something powerful drags you deeper into its murky depths. This paranoia was exactly what locals living near the Kali River experienced in the early 2000s. It was then that the Kali River became the center of bizarre incidents revolving around a freshwater catfish known as the Gunch. Typically, these fish are not considered dangerous to humans. They primarily feed on smaller fish and have a somewhat solitary nature. However, the Gunch in the Kali River was allegedly so massive that it endangered the local. Eyewitnesses and those affected spoke of a large aquatic creature responsible for these attacks. The frequency and nature of these events caused rising concern and prompted investigations. Biologists tried to figure out exactly what was causing the onslaught of horrific incidents in the Kali River. While many believed something else was the culprit, the majority blamed the alleged giant Gunch in the river. What's interesting is that the incidents only occurred in a specific area of the river that spans about 4 miles. Connect the dots yet? This could mean that it only roams around its own territory. Crocodiles and bull sharks were taken off the suspect list, and so to this day, the giant Gunch is believed to be the culprit, although no definitive evidence was ever discovered. Number 2. Shigar Idol. This creepy sculpture was discovered in the peat bogs of the Ural Mountains in Russia in 1890, and since then, it's been known as the most intriguing prehistoric wooden sculpture ever found. Located near the town of Ekaterinburg, the idol was extracted 13 feet down in the bog. Crafted from a single large tree, the artifact stands tall at 6.5 feet. However, it was originally believed to be about 16 feet tall. Radiocarbon dating estimates its age to be around 11,500 years, making it twice as old as the pyramids of Egypt and predating Stonehenge. The Shigar idol has all these geometric shapes and a couple of faces carved into it. It's hard not to wonder what they mean. While we're still guessing, some think it might have been a religious object. Others wonder if it could have been an ancient map or some kind of signpost. More recently, researchers have speculated that the multiple faces on the sculpture might symbolize spirits or gods, adding a spiritual dimension to its potential purpose. Its construction using precise stone tools also indicates a surprisingly advanced level of craftsmanship for such an ancient time. Some researchers even argue that the idol might have been a way for early humans to convey complex messages or warnings to their descendants. In truth, the real purpose of the Shigar idol remains an enigma. However, many continue to be unnerved by its eerie features. Perhaps in the future, we'll learn what this enigmatic figure was really used for. Number 1. Furry snake in Thailand. Alright, after seeing this, you'll definitely be more careful about what you touch in the river. Imagine thinking you're just pulling a string of seaweed or a mossy string from your leg when, in reality, you're actually touching a living serpent. This creature was spotted by a 49-year-old man in Thailand named Tu, who was incredibly perplexed by the sight of this creature. Tu came across this unusual creature during a late-night walk. Intrigued and puzzled, he captured the 2-foot-long snake, placed it in a container filled with water, and fed it small fish while he and his family waited for authorities to identify it. Unlike typical snakes, this creature is covered with furry appendages, making it resemble a plant rather than a snake. This specimen spotted in the river was about 2 feet long, but since we haven't observed these creatures yet, we don't know how long they can grow when fully mature. Both locals and experts were astonished at this discovery, unsure of its true identity. However, some quickly labeled it as extraterrestrial or cryptid because of its bizarre appearance. Several internet users noted its resemblance to a popular figure in Aztec culture, a revered god named Quetzalcoatl, which literally translates to feathered serpent. This supports the theory that perhaps ancient civilizations didn't simply draw mythological creatures out of their imaginations but were inspired by real creatures from the past. However, a more logical theory suggests that the snake might be a puff-faced water snake that stayed submerged in the swamp for an extended period, leading to moss growth on its scales. The scales of the snake are external structures primarily composed of keratin, akin to an additional layer on top of its skin. When the snake undergoes shedding, it essentially removes the outer layer of these scales. However, the even distribution of the green covering contrasts with typical moss or algae growth pattern. Instances of snakes with plant growth are rare, and they usually still show underlying scales, which means this creature could possibly be an unknown species waiting to be discovered. The next time the snake sheds its skin, the moss or algae layer should come off as well, providing a conclusive answer to its true identity. These discoveries are a stark reminder of the mysteries lurking beneath rivers and swamps worldwide. It wouldn't surprise me if some of you have chilling tales of your own. Feel free to share your stories in the comments below. Also, take a look at the other cool stuff appearing on the screen right now, and I'll see you in the next video.